Dan Barrero,
Annette Johnson.
Judd Lofshay.
Jennifer Norrell.
David Ballard.
Okay, moving right along, we have public comments, and we don't have any takers today. Maybe next time. Moving along down the agenda, we have item 3, donations. We don't have a lot of donations, but the one we got is pretty significant. It's 400 backpacks from Costco.
Yeah.
So that's very nice
It's a very nice donation, for sure.
and very timely.
Mhm.
So we'll go ahead with that unless there's any no concerns or questions. And then 4, monthly financial reports. Are there any questions on that?
No.
Okay. I didn't have any. I did notice some transfers between funds. Nothing out of the ordinary.
No, those were the transfers that we had gone throughout the year.
Mhm.
That was one of them followed one of the auditor's suggestions for the refunding of Fund 60
Mhm.
with the ESSER money for the rec building. And the other one was the transfer from prior year from buildings and grounds into debt service.
Okay. Do you have any other questions, Judd?
We have left. We know how much.
Right now, I want to say about 17 million. Mhm. But
17 million is our amount that's listed with the state, but from July 1 to date, we're down to probably more like 11.
correct.
Yeah.
We're drawn down
Oh yeah.
and fast. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
be-
yeah.
yeah. We just have outstanding projects like HVAC, which the drawdown happens as the contractors get to different milestones. They submit to Kim Bailey and she processes those drawdown and then against those account numbers. So that money's really been allocated
Mhm.
for. Mhm.
Okay. Moving right along, we have item 5, the fiscal year 25 budget
Yeah.
update. Dr. Engel.
Andy, you want to pull it up? So if you guys remember back in, I want to say it was like June, we did a preliminary tentative budget. So now we're coming up with the tentative budget now. So I'm going to go through the budget timeline here. So back on 6/3, we did a preliminary tentative budget. We presented that on 6/17 full board. So July, the whole month, we continued to kind of refine the FY25 budget and put in the federal grant allocations. And today we actually got the evidence-based funding allocation. So 8/5, today's board meeting, we're going to be going through the tentative budget and the finance committee and full board tonight. So I'm going to kind of go through a little bit of it here in committee and then kind of go full if we can during the actual budget, during the actual whole board meeting. We're still following this timeline and schedule on 8/20 to do the resolution to adopt the FY25 budget. It'll go on public display there for 30 days. September 23rd, there's going to be a public hearing for the budget and then approval of the budget on that, on September the 23rd, 2024.
So you can approve it the same night as the hearing.
Correct. Yep. So here are the assumptions for the FY25 budget. So we have remaining ESSER funds will be spent down accordingly. CPPRT is decreasing by approximately 40%. Interest income is still going to be strong at 5+%. State categoricals are up by 3. Again, we're also assuming that all state categoricals, there's going to be 4 payments, so each quarter will be in there. Rollovers have not been calculated still in FY25 for grants. Those allocations usually don't come in until about October, November. It's going to be the Title I, Title II rollovers from the prior year, IDEA as well. Salaries on average increased by 3.75, benefits by approximately 12%, purchase services by 3%. Transportation costs are up across the board at approximately 7.3%. Supplies and materials are remaining flat for FY25, and utility costs are also up for 25. Next slide. So these are all updated. So these are the FY25 summative by fund. As you guys can see, this is the revenues. The education fund, the largest fund there at 76.4% of all revenues at 212 million. O&M at 20 million. Debt service at 9.9. Transportation at 8.5. IMRF Social Security at 11.5, and capital projects at 15 mil for the year, and working cash at 250,000.
Tentative for next year. So we're going to spend 15 on capital, which would include the vocational center
A portion thereof it, yeah.
portion of it. Okay.
Yep. So this is it broken down by kind of the pie chart. If you look at it, 77% of our revenue is in the education fund, and operations and maintenance make up 7%. So you can see a vast majority is right there in education. Next slide. Here it is broken down by source. You'll notice we're starting to shift a little bit less on federal grants, a little bit more on the state, just because of the repositioning of the pie there. You can see local is made up of 20% at 55.1 million, the state at 178 million, and federal at 44 million. So the state is still coming up with 64% of the revenue for the district. Next slide. So here it is on the expense summary by fund. This should be no surprise at all. Our education fund is our largest fund. We're just shy of $205 million being spent, so about 74.1% of our total expenditures are coming out of the ed fund. O&M at 7.1%, debt service at 4.6%, transportation at 5.8%, and then capital projects there at 6.4%. So again, total is $276 million worth of expenditures. Next slide. This is the breakdown. So if you end up looking at it by fund, again, the expense here, between education fund and buildings and grounds, we're at about 83% in total there. Next slide. So this is broken down. Again, a major source of our expenditures by summary object here. Salary and benefits. You're looking at almost 60% being salary and benefits there. Purchase services, including special education, at 16.6%. Supplies and materials at 7.4%. Other objects at 9.2%. And non-capital at 1.3%. So here it is, kind of broken down. So you can see more than half the pie chart there is salary and benefits there. Okay. And in summary, there's our revenue and expenses, and right now we're at about $750,000 anticipated surplus for FY25.
What are some of the bigger items under capital for this next budget?
So for an FY25, it's going to be the Coward HVAC projects, because we're finishing all those out. It's going to be the parking lot projects that we have going on, pretty much a lot of B&G, and then part of the career and technical center that's going to be.
So those will all be covered and paid for by ESSER, the remaining ESSER dollars, although they will show up in FY25. The large expenditures for actual expenditures, projects allocated for FY25 will be covered tonight as we reveal the 10-year life safety results, as well as the 5-year plan for operation for our buildings and grounds. So a lot of those plans will be unveiled, but there are things like keeping up with our windows for all of our buildings. That's a large amount of money. Also looking at phase 1 potentially of East High. That's also going to hit FY25 as a larger capital project, but it'll be in a small amount because it'll be year 1. Just thinking off the top of my head, I actually have my 5-year project with all of the ones that are allocated. Number 1, we want to keep up with our doors, because that's part of safety. So we have some door replacements that are needed, fire panel replacements. And then we have things, including the Career Technical Center, but we also have things like secured entrances. We want to begin to look at the entrances in our elementary school, because that was a part of our safety. And Bruce actually asked in B&G for a safety update. So we're going to provide that to him in September, but you'll see it tonight on the B&G plan. Will be shared with the B&G and be in the minutes. So you'll get a full spec of that exact dollar amount we're proposing for FY25, along with the exact expenditures based upon the 10-year state required life safety feedback and what we're planning with the architects, just following up on the 5-year plan as the board continues to look at that.
So the first year of that 5-year plan is in the 25.
So it'll reset and be the first year next year. Yeah, because we're still in progress, but every year we bring you guys the 5-year and we keep moving throughout. So this will be year 1 of our next 5 years. And then we've allocated exactly how much money that's going to go toward that. We've also included from summer of 2024, it's about $11.2 million worth of capital. But again, a lot of that is ESSER. That's taking care of it. So as we move to summer of 2025 and we look to see, wow, what we could potentially do, in doing just the priority 1 items and how much money that would be, I think we have that allocated for summer of 2025 with just ones. And that's 10.85. So 10 million, roughly almost 11 million. But keep in mind that a large bulk of that is the Career Technical Center and the high school mechanical project.
Well,
I
a
have
lot
it
of
for
that you
you.
won't pay out until 26.
Exactly.
Anyway,
Yep.
so yeah, doesn't really
It'll roll into
reflect
the
much
following
onto
year.
this budget.
Right, yeah. But we'll
Yeah.
have it broken down so you can see it.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Any other questions?
You had it down, we didn't see it like when?
B&G, it's coming up actually in the B&G
Yep.
meeting, and then it'll be in the minutes, so you'll have it. The full board will have it. But you guys can sit in too.
Mhm.
Spelled out nicely.
Anything else? You're gonna present this again?
Yeah, I'm going to go full board with the
On the
presentation.
20th.
Oh, we could do it
Because
on
on
the
the
20th.
20th, you need action. You need the board to
resolution.
pass a resolution to put this budget actually in the paper. So we were thinking to say for tonight, it is, Mr. Guerrero, it's on the agenda. But we thought since you guys just heard it on the 20th is when he actually needs full board to vote on the resolution on that budget to put it live for 30 days in the paper. If you want, you can take it. It's up to you. Since you just heard it. Your call.
I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
we got a lot on the agenda, but
It's totally your call.
I guess if he just gives a quick update
Yeah.
and
Say
just
something.
say, information, it's
'Cause the community might be
self-explanatory.
looking for it.
But you had mentioned maybe touching upon the new information, the updates.
Yeah, we can do that from
Just that.
November, or excuse me, from June until now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hit over that.
Okay, that'd be
That's
good.
Okay.
Okay, so next we have the number 6 NIU graduation agreement.
Yeah, so this is the next 3 years of the graduation agreement with NIU. You guys had a chance to look at it. It looks like the rates are, okay, so
Tomorrow.
3 more years at the same place.
3 more years at the same place.
It's
The
got
only
some-
difference is one of the dates. It goes from a Sunday, then the 3rd year is a Saturday.
Okay. No. Okay.
Any questions?
No.
Okay.
No, it's a good venue. And then next, Dr. Ballard, do you want to take all these all together?
I can absolutely do that because I know everyone would like to step outside and cool off for a moment. So I'll be as brief as I possibly can. Just so you're aware, we have a number of requests for a number of positions. So I do want to mention that most of these, with the exception of one, are on the agenda for action tonight for full board. But just so that everyone is aware, just due to the time of year and the nature of these requests, we do sometimes have these positions that come up that do require action. If we were to wait until the next board meeting, we would be right up until the beginning of school to do it now. In our opinion, does make sense to give us a little bit of lead time. So we are asking for a number of positions. One FTE for a pupil personnel assistant at the Resilience Education Center so that we can monitor students and make sure that we have a safe learning environment there. Secondly, we need 2 noon FTE, noon hour supervisors at the Resilience Education Center. Again, we need to be able to serve students food, monitor that during lunch hour as we're going to have students over there eating lunch. That's necessary. With regard to after school programming at the rec, as you all know, that facility has been designed for multi-purpose use during the day, after school, and so forth. So to have an administrator in charge or an AIC for after school programming, we would like to post that. This is an item not up for action this evening, but to post a stipend in the amount of $15,000 for somebody to oversee that. That could be any member of, with a 75 administrative certificate to do so.
Or two people could split it.
Or two people could split it over the course of the year long. We would also like to request one high school division chair for student behavior and safety. Again, along with our theme for this school year about making sure that we are looking at student behavior, looking at adult behaviors, and making sure that we're providing a safe and secure learning environment. Feel that this position is needed, especially at our high school, which is the largest building in our district and one of the largest buildings in the state. This is the next one is a 1 FTE Jumpstart Supervisor, which is updated. This is a position we've had before, but we're coming back to this, which is a grant-funded position to attract a qualified candidate. We have 6.16 overloads for language arts. This is a short-term overload for a medical leave that will take place shortly after the school year begins at Waldo Middle School. We have an additional request for 26.1 overloads for the first semester to cover some courses that are in need of overload assistance at East Aurora High School. And we have a request for one social studies teacher due to course enrollment issues or needs, I should say, at East Aurora High School. And then the last item we have, which you have a memo in your packet, is regard to the request for a discussion about assistant director salary updates.
Okay.
Any questions at all I can answer?
No, I had a comment on number 10.
Certainly.
So I wish I would have known about this one sooner, because I had a question at a neighborhood group meeting on Saturday asking about, this particular resident who was talking about his son wandering the hallways and he didn't know about it. And so I could see, we've had some people come here and speak. So I can see that this is something that I think is going to go a long way to help address a lot of issues. So I'm glad to see it.
The other thing I just want to say for the record is I know that since we was 2 school years ago, the high school had a safety ad hoc committee that we kind of jumped on. And that was during Principal Mitchell's first principal fill-in job. And one of the things that we were kind of split, but those who were adamant about having someone in the camera room. And we just couldn't pull a PPA off the floor to do that. So a part of these duties is certainly going to be obviously being the point person for deploying people when their facial recognition is triggered, but also being able to have an office that is that camera room would kind of meet the needs of what our staff was speaking a lot about. So we were just trying to really make an effort that they know that we hear them and we do listen, although we can't always do it right then. But this is part of that, is to let them know that we hear them. And as soon as we have an opportunity, this will be funded. We actually just found out this summer that we got additional grant dollars to the tune of another $500,000, I believe, from the federal government just for safety. So we're able to continue to pay not only our elementary safety officers out of that grant, because they've always been grant funded, but we were able to add this position. It will not cost us a dime locally. So again, our staff has been wanting these things, but we had to prioritize. And when we got the first opportunity, this was just an opportunity for us to meet that need. So Mr. Barrero, you're spot on. That is what they've been asking for.
So that facial recognition will be up and running this fall, correct?
Yes,
At
I
some
am.
point.
Yes, it took a while because we wanted to do it right and get all the appropriate cameras so we can say every door has a camera facing the door. They did a really good job doing that. And because we were taking along with the final implementation, we ran our unions into the end of the year. And so we agreed and acquiesced and said, hey, let's wait until people get over their summer. Your first House of Delegates back, we'll be looking at the MOU because that's something that they want. They just want to make sure that their members are protected in how we're going to use and implement facial recognition, because as adults, they have an opportunity to sign as well. And so they want to make sure they have a chance with their leadership to be able to share with them the MOU and sit down and talk, both SEIU and IFT. So we are ready to do a demo with them to let them see it. So when they talk to their leadership, that they can talk from a point of having seen it and know how it works, and then talking about the MOU, because there is an agreement around it. So that's kind of our holdup, but we'll be ready to roll with it this year.
Okay.
I have a question. How are we doing with the East Aurora High School, like hallway monitors? Because like, that's the complaint that we hear.
PPAs, yeah.
PPAs, yeah. I mean, I guess we can't pay them more, we decided, or because of the contract. Or
Well, yeah, they're contracted, but I'm sure it will be a conversation for all of our employee groups as we open negotiations. We open negotiations this year SEIU and next year IFT, and they're in the IFT.
But for this year, if we can't get qualified people to stay, we could do the overload thing as well.
For pupil personnel, we've typically not, done it for a
Stipend or something.
for a pupil personnel assistant, but if we are not able to find qualified people, we tend to continue to advertise in a number of ways. So part of what we're looking at doing and what we're getting to when I asked, I guess one of the interesting things that we're getting to is finding out where we're finding candidates from. So one of the pieces that we brought to you before about Frontline in terms of metrics and data analytics, we're finding out where we're getting candidates from. And as we get deeper into that implementation, that's going to, I think, help us target where we're getting.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we found just in early implementation, we find a lot of candidates apply to our district via word of mouth, whether that's in the community or somewhere else. At least that's just part of the initial piece that we see. If that's the case, that may lead us to some other interesting conversations about retention or how we get the word out in the community and so forth about our retention and our recruitment efforts for any number of positions.
Let me say this because this is a major focus for us for this year as we get ready to open schools in 2 weeks. One of the things I will just say with this group and our new VP too is Mr. Bonilla. He is a PPA. And yeah, and one of the things they're not present tonight, but one of the things that they talked about is the level of disrespect. And so this Wednesday, we have all administrators, and I'm actually going to make a call because I didn't see them tonight to invite him to sit in. All school level administrators, deans, SROs, safety and security officers, APs are going to be talking about expectations for student behavior and supports and interventions for kids. But one thing we're taking a hard line on, which will most directly impact this employee group, is the level of disrespect and what we're going to allow. When we move to students can't lay hands on each other, they just can't walk up and engage in a fight and stay in our buildings. Our families stepped up. They met us. They supported our push. And this year, we're really looking to talk about not allowing children to blatantly disrespect adults. And so when you talk about the PPAs, it's not just a financial piece, but it's coupled with we're the front line, we're the most abused, and it's the financial piece. So we're trying to do what we can before negotiations, knowing that will come up then, but that right now we first are going to look at holding the line personally that they take the brunt of. So that's where we are, and that's what we're going to start the year, without any tolerance for. So, yeah.
Well, the block scheduling too should help the movement
Yes,
in the
only
hallways.
3 times.
Yeah. Mhm. That's true.
Fingers crossed.
Mhm. Okay.
Any other questions on
They're
these
coming down. All but one is coming down tonight.
Yeah. under time constraints? So, okay. All right then. So if there's nothing else, I'll call for adjournment at 5:57 for
All right.
just in time for B&G.
Yep. There we go.
All right.
Yay. And a breathing break.